couldn't believe what I was seeing when I pulled into the Bayshore Marina that Saturday morning. A gleaming white yacht, teasily 60 feet long, was wedged sideways into my slip like someone had tried to parallel park a cruise ship, my modest 24 fishing boat. The sea breeze bobbed helplessly outside. The slip teed to a temporary cleat. A woman in oversized designer sunglasses lounged on the yacht's decks, ipping what looked like a mimosa. She waved at me with her free hand, her diamond tennis bracelet, catching the morning sun. Oh, you must be the owner of that little fishing boat, she called down with a voice dripping in false sweetness. Don't worry, I've already cleared this with the proper authorities. I'm allowed to park wherever I want. My jaw dropped. Excuse me, this is my slip. You've paid for it. There is literally a sign with my name on it right there, pointed to the weathered placard that read, Slip 47 reserved for Johnson. Um, she laughed, a tinkling sound that made my blood pressure spike. Oh, honey, didn't you get the memo? The HOA has new policies about community resource allocation. Premium vessels get priority access. She took another sip of her drink, clearly enjoying my confusion, immediately called the Marina office, my hands shaking with anger. The manager, Petonsward, on the third ring. Yeah, I know about the situation, he said before. I could even explain that's Patricia Harrington. She's the new HOA president, and she showed me some official looking paperwork, said it was all approved. Let me back up and explain how we got to this ridiculous moment. A down slip 47 at B Shore Marina. For 8 years, it came with my house in the Sunset Hills subdivision, part of the waterfront property package. Every weekend, I'd take the sea breeze out for some fishing, maybe catch some bass or redfish. It wasn't fancy, but it was Min Patricia Harrington who insisted everyone call her Patty, but acted like we should address her as Your Majesty had moved into the neighborhood 6 months ago. From day one, she'd been on a mission to transform our quiet community into what she called a more refined standard of living within weeks of moving, and she'd somehow gotten herself elected as HOA president after the previous president, elderly Mythopso, Nina mysteriously decided to step down. Rumors said she'd threatened him with code violations about his garden gnomes, but nobody could prove it since taking over. Patricia had been pushing the limits of her authority. New rules appeared weekly. No parking on the street after 8 p. Grass couldn't exceed 2 in height. Holiday decorations could only be displayed 7 days before. And 3 days after the actual holiday, most of us grumbled but complied, figuring it wasn't worth the fight. But this yacht situation was different. This was theft plain and sim. Plymark backed down the dock to confront the rig again. Patricia, I don't care what bogus paperwork you've created. This is my slip. I pay $1,200 a month. For itty, you need to move your yacht immediately. She stood up, revealing a designer nautical outfit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. First of all, it's President Harrington Toyu second. It suggests your EAD, the new HOA bylaws, section 17, subsection C, community amenities can be temporarily relocated for the benefit of residents who contribute to neighborhood excellence. She product. Ed a folder from somewhere and pulled out an official looking letter signed and notarized. This grants me temporary priority access to any community amenity I deem necessary for HOA business. Am hosting every important fundraiser on my yacht tomorrow. Potential investors who might help us install that new security gate everyone's been wanting is natched the letter and read it. The language was vague and clearly written to sound more official than I tactually was, but it was her signature as HOA president, giving herself permission to take whatever she wanted. Pete from the Marina office had wandered over, looking uncomfortable. Look, Mrs. Johnson, I don't want any trouble. She showed me the paperwork, threatened to have the HOA pull her commercial licensing variance. As if I didn't cooperate, my hands are tied. Patricia's murked at me. Perhaps you should consider upgrading to a vessel more befitting our community standards. That little fishing boat is rather pedestrian. I spent the rest of the day researching. Patricia might have had the HOA intimidated, but maritime law was a different beast entirely. The Marina might lee Seslipsto homeowners, but it was still governed by state and federal regulations. I made call after call, working my way through various agencies. Then I hit gold. A friend who worked at the harbor master's office mentioned something interesting. Any vessel over 50 feet requires special permits in this marina. The slips aren't rated for that displacement, and if she's using it for commercial purposes like fundraising, that's a whole other set of regulations. But their real breakthrough came when I called the Coast Guard's non-emergency line. The officer spoke. It sounded very interested when I described the situation. Can you tell me the yacht's name and registration number? Heskey walked back to the marina and snapped photos of the yacht from every angle. The name Patricia's Paradise was painted in gold script on the stern, but something seemed off about the registration numbers. They looked freshly applied like stickers rather than properly painted. Markings. The Coast Guard officer called me back within an hour. His tone had changed completely. Mar Johnson, we're very interested in this vessel. Our record shows them. As significant discrepancies, we'll be conducting an inspection tomorrow morning. I kept this information to myself, deciding to let Patricia Diger hole. A little deeper that evening, she was on the yacht with a group of people, music playing, lights strung up everywhere she turned. My boat slipped into her personal party venue the next morning. I arrived at the marina early with my coffee and a folding chair. Wasn't going to miss this show. Around 9 a.m., two Coast Guard vessels appeared in the channel. They were arranged in white hulls, unmistakable. They moved wit. HP, purpose toward her. Marina Patricia was on her yacht's deck in another designer outfit, apparently preparing for her fundraisers. She noticed the Coast Guard boats and waved cheerfully, probably thinking they were part of the morning. Marine trafficker's mile faded when both vessels pulled directly up to her yacht. Four uniformed officers boarded without ceremony. I could hear their conversation from my chair on the dock. Mom, we need to see your vessel documentation, registration, and operator's license. The lead officer's Ed. Patricia's voice went up an octave. Excuse ma'am, the HOA president, this is private property. You can't just board my yacht without permission. Actually, May. We can't. This marina is subject to federal maritime jurisdiction. Your vessel has been reported as improperly documented and creating a navigation hazard. She scrambled below deck and returned with a folder. Everything is in order. Look, here are my papers. The officers examined her documents with professional scrutiny. He watched as they made radio calls, checked numbers, and took photographs. A crowd was starting to gather on the dock, including G. Pete from the Marina office. The lead officer's voice carried clearly across the water. Ma'am, this registration documents are fraudulent. This vessel isn't properly documented with either the state or the Coast Guard. Additionally, it exceeds the maximum length allowed in this slip classification by 15 feet, creating a hazard for navigation and emergency access. Patricia's face turned red. That's impossible. I bought this yacht from every reputable dealer. They handled all the paperwork, ma'am. I'm also showing that you're not licensed to operate a vessel. Loft, his size, and our records indicate this yacht was reported stolen from Marina in Jacksonville 3 months ago. The crowd gasped. Had Patricia looked like she might faint. Stolen. Another must be some mistake. I have a bill of sale. The officers weren't interested in here explanations, ma'am. We're impounding this vessel pending a full investigation. You'll need to come with us to answer some questions. What happened next was like watching a slow-motion disaster. The Coast Guard called in a commercial towing service. Patricia screamed about discrimination threat, ended lawsuits, and demanded to speak to everyone. Supervisor she named, dropped every important person she claimed to know, insisted this was all a misunderstanding orchestrated by jealous neighbors and a biased.